Hi, I'm back to talk some more about my low mood, which, as you can see, is gradually becoming an okay mood. But that's not the point. As I said before, the point is to be able to do what one wants to do, whatever's important to you, regardless of what mood you're in. So, I did go back and watch the prior video and picked up what my point 2 and point 3 were. And point 2 was that you can remain productive, which clearly I am demonstrating. I've talked a little bit about this before, but to recap, being productive is something that, like procrastination, like self-sabotage, like a lot of other words we use, bears a little examination and dissection. So, productive according to whom? I don't know about you, and of course one's circumstances may have bearing on this, but being self-employed, in particular in my case, productive is by my own standard. However, I think for all of us, even those who have someone to answer to, which includes, I presume, most of the workforce, being productive is still probably going to be a good idea to use your own standard as to what you really want to be productive about. Okay, I emphasize that word want to be. Because again, this being an acceptance and commitment therapy informed video, we're talking about the ACT or acceptance and commitment therapy process of values and committed action, two processes. So what is really important to me, what I want to be able to write about in my memoirs when I'm very old, well, those things are my values. As I mentioned in the prior video on my little low mood here, values tend to have to do with things out there like other people and art and achievements and love and just about anything you care to mention. Generally, values don't have to do with feeling happy, although that's what people tend to say they want out of life. Feeling happy. And that's what a lot of self-help stuff is about. Actually, when you ask people, what do you want to write about in your memoirs, or what would you want in your obituary, mostly the top 3 bullet points are, he was happy. Usually it's, he was a great parent, he was a great husband, or she started a foundation for blind children, or whatever. So that external world emphasis is kind of what I dwelled on in the first half of this video. Now, being productive was my point 2. And being productive is simply acting on the things that you think are really important. I happen to think it's important for me to express some of the things that I have come to find useful in psychology, to express them to a wider and wider audience, and to do so in a sort of an entertaining way. That's just important to me. It's not that it makes me happy. It doesn't necessarily make me happy. Sometimes it makes me happy. Sometimes it doesn't make me happy. Whether it makes me happy or not, it's important to me. So I'm being a little snide here, and I apologize for those of you who don't share my New York love of snideness. I'm being a little satirical because that happy word can be a real thorn in our sides. And those of you who have gone and read Russ Harris's wonderful book, The Happiness Trap, can maybe know a little more what I mean. It's not the topic of this video. Maybe I'll dive into it in another one. So being productive is acting on your values, is doing things that have to do with your values, and often that results in some kind of end product, some kind of deliverable, something you've produced, such as a video. So much for point 2. Point 3, not doing violence to oneself. Okay, so let me explain a little bit where I'm coming from there. Sometimes people will tell you, if you're not in a good mood, act like you're in a good mood. Okay, there could be a couple reasons. As I alluded to in the last video, it might be that they're claiming that you will get into a good mood if you act like you're in a good mood. Fake it till you make it kind of stuff. And I don't know if that's necessarily true, but whether it's true or not, mood is not my main interest in life. My main interest in life is out there, the things that are outside of myself rather than inside of myself. My mood just is like the weather. It's not something I care to try to control very much. Wow, and boy, did my mind just go blank. So there's another thing. A low mood tends to come with a cognitively mushy state. And there's no one here to remind me where I was going. So I'm going to take another moment, demonstrate once again cognitive flexibility. Take a deep breath. A mindful breath. Yes. And so point 3, not doing violence to oneself. So when people tell you act happy even when you're not, often what they're telling you is, gee, it's such a pain being around you when you're not happy. Would you please not do that? Because I don't want to have to feel the pain of your not feeling good. And I don't know how to control my own pain. So you need to stop feeling what you're feeling and act happy, or at least stop acting on what you're feeling so that I can feel better. So this is a kind of social pressure. And one of the things I teach people to do is to try to break away a little from what other people want of you and look at what you actually want, which often has to do with the good of other people. But that when we live our lives for explicitly what other people want rather than what we want, it tends to not be a very fun life. So this is a form of that. When people say act happy, sometimes what they're talking about is, gee, it's kind of a pain when you don't act happy, and I would prefer that you did. Other times it may be a misguided attempt to be helpful. Maybe that's more common. If you act happy, you'll feel happy. I think we've been over that a few times. What I think can happen is that people's low mood can get lower if they are acting differently from their mood for the purpose of simply kind of squashing the mood down and making it not exist anymore, killing the mood. That's sort of violence to the self. And that tends to worsen the mood. It may even contribute to clinical depression, which in some ways is an outcome of rejection of one's normal mood fluctuation and unwillingness to be in anything but a good mood, which is something of the topic of The Happiness Trap by Russ Harris, which I'm advertising for him for free because I think it's so great. So that's what I meant by point 3 of not doing violence to oneself, the very opposite, that actually I'm manifesting myself, manifesting my values, what I feel is important, by acting differently from the mood that I'm in. And this tends to have a certain rolling momentum quality to it. So having done one video, wasn't too tough to do another one. Kind of feel like I have some momentum to now go on to my day and hit it pretty hard with the things that I think are important. And once again, I do not care if my mood improves. I'm sure some people will write to me and say, oh gosh, I hope you feel better. Well, they probably didn't watch the video. But in any case, I do appreciate any pleasant and kind sentiments, regardless of how inconsistent they may be. And I hope this pair of videos was helpful in some way to you, since I believe we all have low moods at times, and I believe that many of us have concerns when that impacts our so-called productivity, meaning the degree to which we are actually acting on our values, which often has products, often has end-stage deliverables. Rock on.